Ben 10 Ultimate Alien was the sequel series to Ben 10 Alien Force that aired on Cartoon Network in April of 2010. After Ben is forced to destroy the original Omnitrix to defeat Vilgax at the end of Alien Force, Ben receives a new Omnitrix, built by Albedo, the estranged assistant of the original inventor of the Omnitrix. The new Ultimatrix was a more combat-focused version of its predecessor. It had the ability to mutate a select few of Ben's existing alien forms into new forms that could be given new, as of yet untapped abilities. These were known as his ultimate forms. Now, I could just make the Ultimatrix from the show and call it a day, but seeing as the two Omnitrixes that I've made in the past have been based off the live-action counterparts, I think it's only fair that I do the same with the Ultimatrix. Now, since of course there is no live-action version of the Ultimatrix, I've got to get a bit more creative with this one. So using the cartoon version as a base and studying the aesthetic design choices presented in the last two iterations, I built the Ultimatrix from Ben 10 Ultimate Alien. For this build, you will need modeling clay, duct tape, casting rubber and resin, EVA foam, hot glue, and spray paint. I decided to try something new with this build. Instead of making the dial out of clay, I cast it in resin to make it more durable. So I, of course, made the original in a clay model, let that dry, and mixed up some casting rubber. I let that dry overnight, popped out the clay, and filled the negative with the resin. Another day later, we have our Omnitrix dial ready to go. This was actually my first time resin casting, and even though it took me a few tries, I think it turned out really nice. There's certainly a bit of a learning curve, and oh boy is that uncured rubber just insanely impossible to get off your hands. But this is definitely a skill I plan on developing with projects further down the line. Moving on from the dial, I built the base layer for the Ultimatrix the same way I did the others, by creating a band out of duct tape. I then attached Velcro straps to either side at the proper angles so that they hugged the wrist in the right way. I then used the EVA foam to create different plate layers that appear on the Ultimatrix. I did this for a few reasons, the main of which is after having built the other two Omnitrixes, I wasn't super satisfied with the performance of just the duct tape. And the other is that with my live-action interpretation, I wanted to ground the Ultimatrix in the lore, giving it a sort of pieced-together look with bare spots where plates were missing and loose wires. Because, after all, the Ultimatrix was built in a cave with, well... with a box of scraps! Thank you. After these foam plates had been cut, I glued them in place. I also used the hot glue to create the wired sections. I used whole sticks to make these thicker wires that are present in a similar way on the original. I then glued on the watch face and coated it with a base coat of glossy black spray paint. I masked off some of the sections and used gloss green in the shade that I can best describe as sort of a John Deere color for the body of the Ultimatrix. I then repeated those same steps and painted the silver parts. After I let those dry, I used the duct tape and hot glue to build the watch face. Then, using gloss black spray paint and a matte green, I created the Omnitrix symbol. I then glued on that symbol. And now we have our very own Ultimatrix from Ben 10 Ultimate Alien. Overall, this was a fairly easy build. Everything was pretty cheap, well, except of course for the resin, but that's, I guess, not required for this build per se. I definitely like using EVA foam over the materials that I've used for these in the past. I even feel like I should go back and redo the last two now that I've done this, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll do those after somebody inevitably suggests the Omniverse Omnitrix. As always, if you have a prop suggestion, then leave it in the comments below. I make a point to at least consider each comment as a possibility. After all, this build was a comment or suggestion. And of course, if you like this video and want to see more like it, then subscribe and turn on the bell to get notified when I upload next.